I'd like to introduce you to Tectonics Research Group Inc. and our recently patented early warning earthquake alarm systems. But before we go any further, let's introduce you to the team that made our company and our products possible. There's Dr. Joseph Ellaby of St. Lambert, Dr. Afshin Sadri, a graduate of geophysics from McGill, Robert Height, an aerospace engineer and also a graduate from McGill, Sharif Nematella, an MBA and a graduate from McGill, Mr. Anne Robitaille, a graduate from Columbia University, and of course myself, Sami Guindi, the president and CEO of Tectonics. Our group of scientists and engineers have built a revolutionary early warning earthquake alarm system that takes advantage of the primary waves of earthquakes. Every earthquake, and that is to say 100% of all earthquakes, internationally speaking, provide three sets of distinctive waves. The first being the P wave, then comes the S wave, and finally the most destructive R waves. The P waves travel almost 2 times faster than the S wave and 3 times faster than the R wave. On average, for every 8 kilometers or 5 miles of travel through the Earth's crust, P waves gain 1 second over the slower and more destructive S waves, or 1.5 seconds over the most destructive R waves. Therefore, there's a life-saving warning possible. And that's awfully good news as a matter of scientific fact for millions of people living in active earthquake zones throughout the world today. We've had our product recently tested at the University of British Columbia's Earthquake Research Laboratories. 4 different sets of testing were conducted. The first 3 tests employed the use of USGS digital earthquake recordings replayed on internationally calibrated earthquake simulators. The unit consistently triggered on the first arrival of the P wave and was witnessed by the local media of British Columbia and later California. The Quake Guard and Quake Alert systems rely on the same type of transducers that are used for petroleum and geological underground mapping. That's why the arrangement is so accurate and reliable. This testing was conducted under the auspices of Dr. Carlos Ventura, and a report of his findings are attached for your perusal. The reason our equipment is revolutionary isn't because it's necessarily new. In fact, scientists have known about and studied the separation of earthquake waves for many years in laboratories. What's new is that we've managed to miniaturize and price a reliable unit for home use that would have been otherwise extremely expensive, thousands of dollars, and cumbersome in size, so that you can receive a warning, especially when you're asleep. And of course, there you go. This testing wouldn't have been possible without the gracious support of the National Research Council of Canada, who I would like to take this opportunity to thank once again. The next challenge is to inform the populations of 37 earthquake-prone countries of the world of this important and potentially life-saving technology. We have begun the job, and many people have already started hearing about our product on the west coast of North America. So please sit back and take a look at some of the news stories that have been done on our company and products in both the United States and Canada.
Kobe, Japan, Mexico City, and San Francisco. They've all been hit by major earthquakes, and scientists say the lower mainland will one day be included on that list. At UBC, research is underway on 2 earthquake preparedness projects. Mike Colleen reports.
So what happened?
What happened? We broke the wall. We're very good at breaking things here.
Breaking things in the name of research. In this case, they're trying to determine the strength of wood during earthquake conditions. UBC is also researching a new device that claims to warn people that a quake is coming.
It's less rude. It'll wake you up. It'll give you a chance to, put your shoes on, grab your children, protect your loved ones.
Quake Alert is expected to be on Canadian store shelves by the spring. The device will probably sell for about $200.
Its developers say this home alarm can save your life. It doesn't warn of fires or intruders, but of earthquakes. It's called Quake Alert, designed to measure the first vibrations unique to earthquakes, giving those inside a few seconds to get to safety.
The idea is like that. This device will trigger then at the first displacement of the P wave, giving you a range of warning times depending on the focal depth of earthquakes, the distance the city is in relation to that epicentral focal point, Smaller earthquakes have not triggered it, it's been intentionally designed to not trigger for 2s, 3s, 4s. It's above 5 that we're interested in. Obviously, that's when it's life-threatening and potentially dangerous to structures and people.
They brought this $150 unit here to UBC, one of the top earthquake research centers in the world. It's mounted on another earthquake research project, a $100,000 project examining wood strength.
Earthquakes and safety of building is always an important topic, an interesting topic for professors and scientists to work on. So we are putting in a lot of our effort in this area.
The pressure on the wall reaches over 60,000 kilonewtons. That's what would happen if a quake of over 10 hit.
What we want to do in this exercise is to test the sensitivity of the device to actual simulation of earthquakes. Of course, we would like to have real earthquakes outside to be able to test the instrument, but since we don't have that ability to generate earthquakes, we can simulate earthquakes. We try to help Tectonics to develop a more confidence in the instrument so they can promote this product.
And a very cool guy who's an inventor. One of his inventions is the Quake Alert, can predict an earthquake being sold in Chile and California and Mexico and places like that. He'll tell us about it.
I've been told that an earthquake's one of the most terrifying things there is, so I suppose if you've lived through that, you might want to get a little early warning. And a Canadian has invented an early warning system. We'll talk to him about this. What do you sell it for? How much?
$150.
That's
US.
And I was surprised to hear that nobody else actually has a home unit.
No?
I mean, there are a couple of commercial units, but you're it. You're the guy.
Well, that...
you could get rich selling this thing.
Could. I'm sure Mr. Chrétien could have used one at that, at that airport before he landed. That sure could have made a, bit of a difference.
Well, Sammy, good luck with the Quake Alert.
Thank you, Dan.
Thanks for being here.
All right.
We'll be right back.
Close to a major geological fault near the mouth of the Saguenay River. So some entrepreneurs from St. Lambert have invented an earthquake detector. And as Joe Singerman reports, they're setting their sights on California.
Some South Shore inventors near Montreal decided to create a detection device.
This is a sensor, and it has an output, and that output is then amplified, and then...
So this is a sensor here?
This is the sensor right there, and it is focused in on the frequency of first arrival waves, but as modified for the structure that you're in, because that's really important. So
you have a device here, you can set 2, 3, or 4 for sensitivity.
Right. That's very, very important.
The St. Lambert Group, which developed the Quake Alert, only sells the device through distributors, and these days most of them are in California. The inventors received some funding from the National Research Council, and their research was validated by the University of British Columbia Earthquake Research Laboratories. Joe Singerman, Pulse News, St. Lambert.
Good afternoon, I'm Ann Shatilla, and this is UPN News Live at 3:30. Like most, you're probably very worried about that next big one here in Southern California. Well, soon you may be able to head to the store, pick up a device just like a smoke alarm that can warn you of an earthquake. Meet the man who says he's got the gadget that'll give you time to brace before an earthquake strikes.
Sami Guindi, the president of Tectonics Research Group of Canada, developed the system called Quake Alert. It's been put to the test at the world-renowned Earthquake Research Laboratories in Canada. This testing facility is able to simulate earthquakes that register up to 10 on the Richter scale.
How does this work? And does it work? You're going to say it works, but how does it do this?
Well, of course, Anne, I'm going to say it works.
Yeah.
What it does is it picks up the primary waves of earthquakes and gives you a warning at that moment. The primary wave, of course, as you know, travels much faster than the S and R waves, the damaging and destructive waves. So what we're looking at is a 40, 50-second warning in the context of the Californian, geophysical terrain, if you will. That's what we've got.
Okay, now how did a bunch of Canadians come up with this? Why such an interest in earthquake research up there?
Well, we got together with some McGill scientists, and we put together this whole product with a number of medical professionals and engineers, and also, of course, MBAs, because we need a few of those, right? It's necessary, and that's what we did. We got together. We worked for 2 years doing the R&D on the product. We tested it in Crown Point, New York. We did cultural noise experiments to find out what won't trigger the device.
The day the earth shook. In 1989, a warning system did save lives.
The Nimitz Freeway in Oakland had collapsed during the Loma Prieta quake.
He heard me and he turned aside.
Seismologists monitoring expected aftershocks were able to give rescuers 25 seconds warning before a magnitude 5 shock hit them. They had time to get safely off the damaged structure.
Now, live from Northern California's largest city, KNTV News at 6.
The quake in Southern California is yet another reminder of the need to be prepared for the next trembler.
A Canadian company is claiming to have the latest in technology that will warn us of an impending shaker. And it's the subject of tonight's Consumer Watch 11. Our consumer guy, Ellis Levinson, has a strange-looking device. Not too strange, looks like a thermostat. And, well, how does it all work?
Well, the idea behind this is that earthquakes send out warning waves before the big vibes hit. Isn't that considerate of them? Tectonics Research Group of Montreal, Canada, says its Quake Alert, to be marketed in the U.S. as Quake Guard, gives a warning of several seconds up to 2 minutes. That could make the difference between life and death. But does it work? Major earthquakes can be devastating. Any warning could save lives. Today's trembler near Barstow is another reminder of how alert we need to be. Tectonics Research Group of Canada has come up with Quake Alert, to be called Quake Guard in the United States. It's designed to read the first of 3 waves generated by a quake. Geology professor Richard Sedlock of San Jose State describes how a seismograph records a quake.
In a typical earthquake, we'll say this is the arrival of what we call the P wave, or the primary wave. This is the arrival of the S wave, or the shear or secondary wave. And these are the larger surface waves, which are called R waves.
The P wave travels the fastest. The farther it travels from the epicenter, the more lead time the P wave gets ahead of the other waves. The S, or shear wave, comes next and does its damage. Then comes the most destructive R wave, which travels along the surface.
So they're trying to give you warning before the arrival of these heavy-duty waves that follow this initial warning shock.
If you're located far enough away from the epicenter, the P wave warning could give you enough time to take cover.
In fact, after Loma Prieta, the rescue workers working on the Cypress structure that collapsed up in Oakland had 20 seconds of warning by radio from the vicinity of Loma Prieta down in the Santa Cruz Mountains.
Rescue workers had set up the radio warning system for just such an aftershock situation. Guard's manufacturer's suggested price is $150. But is it worth the money, and does it work?
I think the device does work, and I think that in certain parts of the world, it might be very useful. Say if you were in an area that was subject to shaking from distant earthquakes, like Mexico City.
You're watching News Center 4 at 5.
Now, what if buying a $150 gadget could warn you about an impending earthquake? As News Center 4 at 5 first told you a few weeks ago, there is a new device out that promises to do just that. And for the first time, it's being sold at Bay Area stores.
When a major earthquake hits, it takes time to register what we're feeling. Time to understand it's an earthquake. Time to begin taking action to protect ourselves and those we love. But what if we had a warning? A new device from Canada called Quake Alert promises to give a warning of a major quake. It reacts to something called a P wave. Salespeople say it could give between 10 seconds and 2 minutes of warning. And what could you do with, say, 30 seconds notice?
If you count out 1 1,000, 2 1,000, that can be a lot of time to get 2 kids and maybe get out of the building or get to a sturdy table or in a doorway.
Without endorsing this product, seismologists say the principle behind it is sound, but only if the quake's epicenter is far enough away.
The P wave does arrive before the S wave, but the amount of time for arrival depends on the distance to the earthquake.
In San Francisco, I'm Greg Lyon, News Center 4.